What's going on, everybody? Back in the studio with AC. So awesome. Uh, Apologize for kind of the inconvenience there. I was doing 2 reports a week. I don't know that 2 made any different than 1 because we did manage to still pull off 1 a week for you the last month. But we got the AC back and we're back in action. All right. Let's tell you a few things about the lake. Last week we had a rising lake. This week we have a falling lake. All through this season, since February, I have talked about rising and falling. When the lake rises, the fish rise. They come in. When the lake falls, it points them out. It means that it puts them on the points, the secondary points, and they begin to pull out. They pull on the outside edges of the brush line. They pull on the outside edges of the grass lines. They pull off the banks to the tree stumps. It pulls them out, points them out. What has been really strange this year is that the water temperatures are finally kind of where they should be for this last week of heat blast and no rain the last few days. Upper 80s, 87 to 90 degrees. Normally they're about 89 in the morning, 88 in the morning this time of year, and pushing them 92, 93 by nightfall, which has forced the fish offshore. And there's only 2 reasons that fish school up. And when I say fish, I don't just mean bass and lake fork. I mean predators. Predators in the ocean. Predator fish anywhere, any species, only school up together to hunt. That's one. Just like coyotes or foxes or even a wolf. The big wolf, the gray wolf, is huge. It's one of the biggest animals, predator animals, besides bear, I guess. But wolves hunt together. So bass now, when we talk about bass on Lake Fork, school up to hunt the bait fish. When the lake is full of bait through everywhere in the shallows, and I don't just mean shad, they don't necessarily have to school up to hunt. Okay, so fish will school together when it's necessary to hunt food. When it's not necessary, they can stay scattered wherever they want to be. Temperatures also can make fish school. And they don't school for any other reason than comfort areas. The shallow waters, for example, get too hot, lower oxygen, so they like a certain comfort level, say 18 to 20 feet, and then off a hump structure, points, ledges, whatever, cooler water, in the summer, warmer water. So it not necessarily, can't use the word school, but it groups them up and puts them in certain areas. In other words, they're grouped up, schooled up. Those are your 2 reasons. They school to hunt, and they school because of areas and conditions. And this year, with everything that's happened, there's so much food, there's so much cover, there's 315 miles of shoreline of cover. The temperatures are cooler. Nothing has made these fish group up or school up, hardly at all, even during the shad spawn. One of the most important times that bass school up is during the shad spawn. They'll gang up and gang bust the shad. All of that was weak this year. The main reason why is, again, way different weathers. If you look at the logs, I wouldn't expect you to go back and watch every single rundown for the last 5 months. But within every 2 to 3 days, we were either rising or falling. There has been, in 5 months, there has not been 2 straight weeks of stable time on this lake. I came from lakes in California and Arizona that was the deal. And that's what made them the toughest fishing lakes in the U.S. was a constant level change. Lake Pleasant, for example, rises for 9 months. It takes 9 months to fill it through a central Arizona project, a canal system, where they pump water out of the Colorado River. And it takes 9 months to fill it. And in 3 months, it drops 90 feet. One of the toughest lakes to fish if you don't understand what that does, the effects of that rising and falling water does to the fish. So we have definitely, in the 10 years that I've been guiding on Fork, have had some dramatic changes in the lake, in the systematic way that the lake water is used by Sabine River Authority. They have sprayed and killed a lot of vegetation, almost all of it, and it's trying to come back, and it's different types of grasses that are coming back. We're seeing skunkweed, which is really pondweed. They've got scratchy pondweed, regular pondweed. You've got coontail. You've got a little bit of hydrilla trying to come back here and there. I haven't seen any lily pads try and come back, which is interesting. Those are usually pretty strong. Even in my pond, when we spray the lily pads a little bit to get rid of them so they don't overtake it, they come back pretty strong. But I haven't seen lily pads. And however, I have seen Sabine River already out there with their inland fisheries, also with their boats searching. And when they find something they don't like, they're going to spray again. So let's just hope that they'll leave some of the good stuff and not kill everything like they did last time. But anyways, that's kind of my intro to what's going on Fork, to let you know why it has been tough. The rumors out there are true. It's been a tough season, the whole season. The fish have been scattered. To this day, they're still scattered in 2 foot, 8 foot, 15 foot, 25 foot. They are scattered. I can tell you that you can catch them on big worms still a little bit, but you're best to do that in the afternoon. Jigs, big worms, Carolina rigs. Early mornings, there's still frog bite, believe it or not, if you cover the right area. A friend of mine the other day said, you know, I'm so sick and tired of looking for big fish deep and looking for the schools of fish and not finding them. I spent 8 hours graphing the other day and I just hardly saw anything throughout the entire day. And he said, tomorrow I'm going to go pretend that it's like April and I'm going to go throw a chatterbait, a spinnerbait, a weightless fluke, and a Cinco. And I said, hey, be sure and throw frog. He said, nope, I'm skipping the frog. I'm just going to stick with the chatterbait, the spinnerbait, the weightless fluke, and the Cinco. And he launched his boat. And at daybreak, and within 15 minutes, he had messaged me and said he'd gone as far up as he could possibly go in one of the creek arms. And he said his boat was in 4 feet of water and he's already caught 3 fish. Now, was he catching giants? No. But he's catching good quality 2 to 5 pound fish. And the chatterbait, chartreuse and white chatterbait, was the deal. I can tell you firsthand that I don't have anything up here, but I love chatterbaits. I love them, especially in the spring. You know, your trailer has a lot to do with the action of the chatterbait. And one of the best trailers I've ever used is Lake Fork Trophy Lures Live Magic Shad, the 3.5-inch Live Magic Shad, and you can go bigger, 4.5 or 5 inches, depends on what you're fishing for. You know, springtime and on gizzard shad, I'm going to use the bigger ones and things like that. But right now, if you just tie on a chartreuse and white chatterbait with a Lake Fork Trophy Lures 3.5-inch Live Magic Shad in albino, and you just cover some water in the backwaters around vegetation. Look for some grass. Look for green. Look where you see green. Do that in the morning hours, first couple hours, and you'll probably catch some fish. And it'll change your aspects of what you're feeling about Lake Fork. Later in the day, get yourself a little deeper. So I'm going to go in and give you a bunch of reports about all those surrounding lakes, but I also want to bring to your attention something that at least, I think I've talked about this a time or two. You know, Bass Assassin, man, I'm 52 years old, and I remember Bass Assassins when I was at least a young teenager. And when I think of Bass Assassins, I generally think of the Shad Assassin, the little shad. What I didn't realize is you know, now that I'm on the pro staff with Bass Assassin, they've sent me this catalog, and we're looking at 58 pages of product. Everything from, you know, jig heads to the Red Daddy spinner, which is like which is kind of like the old. Oh shoot! I'll let you just see it there if you can see it. For some reason I'm tongue tied. I'm not coming up with, but they've got shaky heads and they've got swim jig heads and then you get into plastics, and this is what blew my mind. Is there just page after page after page of plastics, boot tail swim baits, regular swim baits, on and on. And again, there's over 30-some pages. The rib style, which is called the Little Boss. And then you get far, go far enough, and you start getting into worms of all types and grubs. Big worms. You've got, of course, you got the Bass Assassin, the original Bass Assassin, and there's just pages of soft plastic here that really intrigued me. I didn't know that this company was this big and been making this many soft plastics. The big worms, the 11-inch worms, creature baits, crappie baits. So take a look at BassAssassin.com. You'll be surprised, and you're going to come up with some. You know, the tap out worm, which is a lot like our trick worm that we've really been using a lot. So I plan on really getting into this. I can tell you a couple things. I've used some of the plastics already. Here's your what they call a fat job, which is a Cinco, kind of a stick bait, but it's got its own unique characteristics to it. And one of the cool things about this is, you know, it's different. We throw a lot of the same things, and the fish get really smart to us. Creature baits, some really cool creature baits. They get really smart to us. Beavers, and they, you know, the color selection too, which is awesome. There's some colors in here, some 2-color deals that you just don't see a lot anymore. Tails, instead of us having to dip the tails are already made appropriately in those colors that we like. So I'm really, really happy. The whoop craw, I really like the action of the whoop craw as a trailer or even just regular, you know, creature bait crawfish type bug. BassAssassin.com, check them out. Definitely the coolest thing that I was leaning into is that I've used some of them, and the plastic itself is soft. It's got the right feel, and a lot of times that's something that I really like. I don't like it to be too hard. I don't want it to be too soft because it tears too easily. And so far with the stuff that I've used, I really like the texture in the plastic. But let's go ahead here and go and give you guys some reports about some other places that you can go fishing right now. You know, Fork is still fishing fair, to say the least, if you'll fish it right. If you fish it early morning shallow, and then again, as the lake is dropping like this, I do see more fish moving back out offshore, and I suspect it might finally be the end of the rain this year if we continue to have something stable. 3 weeks of the same thing. I don't have to have this lake stable and stop dropping, but I gotta have the same thing for a little while. So if I can have 3 weeks of this lake doing this, it won't take but 2 of them for them to start having pattern. And so I suspect, you know, maybe by the 1st or 2nd week of August, we'll start seeing some really cool groups of fish offshore. But let's tell you some bass fishing elsewhere that you can go. If you go to Ray Hubbard, Joe Shipley, Texas Frenzy Fishing Guide Service, he says that the drop shot bite's pretty good there, 15 to 20 feet deep. Your red bug worm and your trick worm, also shaky head is pretty good with a watermelon red trick worm. But the red bug worm on a drop shot rig is your best bet. There's a few spinnerbait fish that are being caught, and rattle trap fish are being caught around windy marina wave breaks. You can go to Possum Kingdom. Pete Hernandez says fishing's great there. If you'll start early in the morning, if you'll start before daybreak, about an hour before daybreak, and fish the lights, anywhere that you got dock lights or lights in the water, there's really been a lot of big fish being caught near those areas, and top water is how they're being caught. So look for the green lights. It's not necessarily docks, but you can find some green lights, or even around launch ramps and things where there's lights. A lot of big fish are being caught on top water on Possum Kingdom. Once that sun's up, Pete says 15 to 25 feet of water has been the best. And again, your big worms, kind of like the Bass Assassins we were just talking about. Your 7.5 tap out worm, Texas rig, 3/4 ounce jigs. Best colors there are purple plum, plum apple, red shad, and any crawfish colors on your jigs. Kerry Thorne from Lake Levon. He says the bass are being found in 1 to 20 feet. There you go, 1 to 20 feet. They're scattered. They're still scattered. This isn't a lake thing. It's not a specific to one lake thing. It is a weather thing. It's this year, it's a seasonal thing. So boat ramps, riprap, brush piles, they've all been your best areas. And you just got to fish shallower early and work your way deeper as the day goes on. A watermelon red Bass Assassin in 5-inch. It's called the one I like is the 5-inch Vapor Shad. The Vapor Shad, Carolina rigged on the flats, is working pretty good later in the day. I think that Vapor Shad on Fork would work really good later in the day on the flats. And then he's also slow rolling some 1/2 ounce chartreuse spinnerbaits, like my buddy did. You know, fishing those in shallows, less than 6 feet of water early, and some swim jigs early. So there's another scattered report. And I told you about Lake Fork. Man, there fish are everywhere. They're just everywhere, and it's hard to find repeated patternistic bites where you catch the same fish. You know, not necessarily the same exact fish, but the same patternistic bites day in, day out when it changes so much. Crappie on Lake Levon. Crappie are good on Levon. 1/16 to 1/8 ounce jigs tipped with minnows. You need the minnows now. 9 foot to 20 foot on structure and brush piles seems to be the best. Brush piles are producing more keepers. But right now it's really gone. In the summertime, for some reason, crappie like those minnows. Where you can catch them the rest of the year without it, the minnows become very important. Jackie Wiggins, right here on Fork, he says the same thing. He says they're definitely transitioning into the normal hot weather pattern, which, lots of fish stacking up deep and laydowns and brush and certain trees in very big numbers. They're forcing them to school. Very similar to a bass in a way in its habits. It's a schooling fish. 14 to 24 feet seems to be the best. And again, he also says a lot of brush piles in 20 to 25, 35 feet even have fish on them. And minnows are really becoming the dominant bait. Stripers and white bass, Lake Levon with Kerry Thorne. Kerry says that the white bass are great on main lake points, 10 to 20 feet. White chartreuse slab spoons. I like silver ones too, mix them up a little bit on them. Don't remember on a cloudy day, you may throw a gold one. And then Kerry also has a cool tip. I'm sorry, not Terry. Kerry. Kerry has a cool tip. If you really get into some really good action and there's a big school of fish there, try tying a marabou jig about 18 inches, a white marabou jig, 18 inches, or a chartreuse one, above the slab spoon, on the line, just like you were drop shotting. Do tie it with a Palomar knot, and then your tag, your drop shot tag, would be your spoon. And what happens is you can get those white bass really fired up. You can catch two at the same time. You get one on the spoon, and while he's running around, another will hit that marabou jig. It's pretty cool. Tawakoni, Matt Cartwright says, Tawakoni is finally slowed down a little bit. The hotter temperatures have changed things there. There's a few early schoolers on the points and flats, and under 10 foot of water. Spinners and swim baits are catching those, and there's a few being caught on bait in 25 to 30 feet. If you're a cat fisherman, it's so hot right now. It's just so hot. The catfish are even gone deep. In Tawakoni, for example, they're 15 to 25 feet, and cut bait seems to be your best. Timber areas as well. But Lake Levon, Lake Fork, a lot of the surrounding lakes here, if you're looking for channel catfish, it's really best to just go use sour maize or cattle cubes. You're going to want to do it deep. My son did this a week or so ago, and they did it in about 14 feet of water. And it didn't have that good a success, but they put all 30 pounds of the cattle cubes as well. You don't want to overbait the spot, but go out there and pick a channel swing. Find the creek. Off of a Main Creek, Williams Creek, Little Mustang Creek, or any one of the main creeks. Go up Birch Creek a little bit. Find a swing in Birch Creek that's in about 20 feet of water. Hopefully you can find one that has a stump you can tie to, so you don't have to use spot lock in your trolling motor. And chum with about 5 pounds of sour maize. You get it at the feed store, the horse and cattle feed store. They're cubes. They sink real well. But do, 1 bucket's worth. Don't pour the whole bag. And come back the next day to that spot, and you won't believe the amount of fish you can catch. Kerry on Lake Levon says look for rocks. If you'll find rocks in about 15 to 20 feet of water, and you pour those cattle cubes in the sour maize or whichever you choose into the rocks, it falls down in the grooves of the rocks. It makes the fish work more to get it out, and they'll stay longer. But man, you can really catch a lot of channel catfish in these lakes and fill your freezer in a real quick hurry. And they're delicious. They're way better than store-bought. Store-bought comes from the pond. That's tossed pellets. They have that musky flavor. They're just not the same. The lake caught catfish are delicious. All right. So guys, that kind of concludes the report for this week. I'm really grateful again for your patience. We did lose probably about 10 people that have dropped off the subscription. I don't understand why people would drop off of this is a free public channel here. I don't understand why people would drop off of a free public subscription because of a few weeks of lack of reports. I'm not sure, and honestly, I don't care. In a way, my dad would laugh and call it thinning the herd, son. You can do a lot for a lot of people, and then the minute that you stop, they're gone. Good for them. Let them be. So, we've lost about 10 in the subscribing. I shouldn't be sharing that with you, but I really don't care. The ones that stick around, the ones that are still watching today, the ones I'm the most grateful for. Thank you. Thank you so much. We've got a lot of good things coming. We've got a lot of companies like Lake Fork Trophy Lures, for example, that have products in some colors, and there's some secrets I can't tell you today that I look forward to sharing with you in the future. The fall is coming around. This fall, I think, will be different than the last 5 years because the lake has the shallow cover. It has vegetation. It has things growing in it, which it hasn't had in the past few years. And that gives a reason for those fish to go up. You know, they're going to go deep when it gets too hot. And come late September, October, they're going to have something to go back to. All that junk also filters the water a little bit. So when the lake turns over, they're going to have something to go hide in. They're going to have something to go up in that'll help filter and clarify the water. And I think, prospectively, even though we've had a tough spring and we've had a tough summer, tough season period for 2023 on 4, I think the fall this year is going to be spectacular when it starts to cool back down. All right, with all that being said, again, thank you guys so much. If you want to be a members only subscriber and get more information, look in the descriptions below this video and just click on the link for members. Follow it. It's $4.99 a month. We spend more than that on fishing line, lures, and gas to go to the lake. Heck, a bag of ice these days is $3. So give it a shot. Check out my members only channel. When I finish up with you guys right now, I'm going to do a members only rundown. It's specifically the Lake Fork only. And I really tell more details. I tell more of the goods. I tell the exact depths, colors, bait specifics. It's just a much more broad spectrum, detailed report about catching bass on Lake Fork. And or some secrets or tips. Maybe there is another place that you should go that's on fire. And I just, you can really catch the heck out of the bass, and you want to know where that is. You need to be a member for those special secrets. So look in the descriptions below. Other than that, hit the like button, comment below, tell your friends about this channel, and I wish you all really great fishing. So thank you so much for watching.